The sky above Earth shimmered with an unnatural glow as the massive Veyron dreadnought, Zartuan, came into view, black against the stars, its surface crawling with violet energy lines like veins of living metal. For most humans, the appearance of such a ship would have been science fiction come alive, but for the leaders of Earth, it was the worst possible reality. The Galactic Veyron Empire, a race known for wiping out entire civilizations in a day, had finally arrived. Cities froze in fear as every screen on the planet was taken over by a single, chilling message. A tall alien figure with 6 eyes and a crown of bone addressed the world in a calm, cruel voice. "You will submit," he said. "The Empire does not negotiate with lesser species. You will offer your obedience or face extinction. You have 7 rotations to decide." The message ended without ceremony, leaving the world in an eerie silence. In orbit above Earth, inside the Great Command Fortress Aegis Prime, representatives from all continents were there, and for once, no one argued over borders or politics. The situation was clear. Earth was facing the same fate as hundreds of other planets the Veyron had conquered before. Their demands were always the same, and so were the results: slavery, destruction, silence. Some council members wanted to send a response of peace, hoping to avoid war. Others argued for surrender, claiming Earth's military was no match for an empire that had mastered faster than light travel and star-crushing weapons. But a few stayed quiet, watching and thinking: leaders from the old defense networks, admirals of hidden fleets, scientists from projects the public had never heard of. They knew Earth had one advantage the Veyron didn't: secrecy. Far from the cameras, hidden in bunkers and deep space stations, humanity had been preparing. After the AI wars nearly destroyed Earth a century ago, the surviving nations had quietly built a last-resort defense program. Most thought it was shut down. They were wrong. On the moon's far side, a signal was sent in ancient military code, activating systems buried beneath layers of rock and ice. Lights flickered on, and enormous doors groaned open into the darkness. Inside lay ships unlike anything the public had seen: black as space, sleek as blades, silent as shadows. The Black Fleet, a creation of desperation, made with stolen alien tech, reverse-engineered warp cores, and human stubbornness. No one knew if they would work. No one had dared test them. Until now. As the deadline from the Veyron drew closer, Earth's surface showed no signs of panic. News channels were strangely calm, military bases quiet, skies clear. The Empire watched from orbit, confused. On other planets, populations had begged for mercy the moment the Empire arrived. Earth didn't beg. It didn't answer at all. To the Veyron, this was strange behavior. Arrogant, maybe. But they had faced arrogance before. They believed Earth was simply in denial. They didn't know humanity was not being silent out of fear. They were silent because they were planning. In the shadows, the Black Fleet crew's men and women trained in total isolation received orders from their old commanders, their faces lit only by red lights inside their cockpits. No speeches. No glory. Just coordinates and activation codes. Their mission wasn't to win a war outright. It was to break the illusion that the Empire was invincible. Meanwhile, deep in the Pacific Ocean, the Submarine Command Center Echo Point activated the Orbital Defense Grid, a relic of Earth's hidden Cold War among the stars. Artificial satellites, disguised as weather probes, began rotating into position, quietly locking onto the dreadnought above. The Empire didn't notice. They were too busy preparing their victory speech. On the 6th day, with 1 day left on the ultimatum, a single transport ship broke Earth's atmosphere and headed toward the Veyron ship. It was unarmed, carrying a human diplomat with a simple answer. The envoy entered the massive hull of the dreadnought, surrounded by towering alien soldiers with glowing weapons. The diplomat didn't bow. He didn't shake. He simply handed over a data chip. "This is Earth's response," he said. The Veyron commander inserted it into the terminal, expecting a surrender. But it wasn't a message of peace. It was a warning. A short recording showing a single Black Fleet ship decloaking behind one of the Empire's scout cruisers on the edge of Saturn's rings. In the footage, The human ship unleashed a silent beam of energy that carved through the alien ship like paper. Then the human ship vanished, leaving no trace. No sound. No trail. Just the wreckage. The recording ended with a single line of human text. "We are not your prey." The Veyron commander stared at the message, uncertain whether to laugh or prepare for battle. Earth had made its choice, and it was not submission. It was defiance, wrapped in silence. The Empire had come expecting obedience. Instead, they had awakened something old, something patient, something dangerous. And far out, beyond the moon, the shadows began to move. Out in the cold silence beyond Saturn, far from Earth's warm sun and human noise, the void whispered with secrets that hadn't been spoken in nearly a century. The Black Fleet, born in darkness and buried in forgotten corners of the solar system, was now waking like a storm long held back. Inside the hidden command vessel, Oblivion Lance, Commander Alina Voss stood in the observation dome, watching a slow cascade of stars move past the black glass. She was one of the few who remembered the final years of the Dark War, a time when machines had rebelled against their makers, when Earth almost destroyed itself fighting its own creations. That war had left deep scars on every country, every city, every soul, and in its shadow, a secret plan was formed, not for victory, but for survival. The Black Fleet had been humanity's backup plan, its answer to the possibility that something worse than rogue AI might come from the stars. Ships were built in deep space, far from the eyes of ordinary people, designed to strike without being seen, to vanish without a sound. For years they had waited, drifting in silence, running simulations, upgrading in secret their human crews trained in isolation from the world they'd sworn to protect. And now the time had come. The Veyron Empire had arrived with threats and demands, expecting fear, but Earth had replied with shadows. Voss looked at her crewmen and women who had never walked on Earth's surface as adults, who had trained in void stations, learned to kill in silence, and carried the weight of a planet's last hope. She gave the order. Phase 1 of the Ghost War began. Across the system, Black Fleet units stirred cloaked frigates hidden in asteroid belts, powered up silently. Drone carriers deployed stealth pods toward Veyron's supply routes, and deep-range probes began mapping enemy movement with cold precision. The Empire didn't even notice. They believed they had time, believed their dominance in the galaxy gave them control of every battlefield, but Earth had learned long ago that arrogance was the first step toward defeat. As the Black Fleet moved like whispers through the dark, humanity's leaders on Earth held their breath. The Veyron hadn't fired yet, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time before they launched a strike meant to break Earth's will. But before that happened, humanity would show them something they hadn't seen in centuries: an enemy that didn't fight for conquest or glory, but for survival, for freedom, for the right to exist without a master. Meanwhile, aboard the Oblivion Lance, Voss's team picked their first target, a Veyron forward scout stationed near Titan. It was lightly armed but full of sensors and communication gear perfect for watching Earth's moves. Voss's ship approached under full cloak, engines silent, systems dimmed. The closer they got, the more the tension grew. One mistake, and the entire Empire would know where they were. But there were no mistakes. The lance struck fast, a beam of compressed energy slicing through the enemy vessel's spine. No warning, no counterattack. 1 second the scout existed, the next it was drifting in two halves, systems dead, crew gone without knowing what hit them. The kill was clean, and the Empire didn't even detect the attacker. Voss smiled grimly. The Veyron had power, but power meant nothing if you couldn't see your enemy. She sent a coded message back to Earth. First contact made. Ghost War has begun. In response, Earth's orbital command centers reactivated old AI from the Dark War reprogrammed, locked down, and heavily monitored to assist in targeting and prediction. Old fears returned with that decision. The AI systems had once nearly wiped out their creators, but now, in chains of code and layers of failsafes, they served humanity once more. Some whispered that this was dangerous, that using the tools of the past might awaken old threats, but others said it was the only way to keep up with an enemy that spanned the stars. Still, not all weapons of the past were machines. On Mars, a bunker city buried beneath red dust opened a vault containing experimental weapons, plasma knives, adaptive armor, and personal cloak fields developed during the final days of the AI uprising. Rejected by most nations for being too unpredictable, they were now humanity's best chance at balancing the field. Back in space, Varen commanders grew uneasy. 2 more patrol ships went missing, one near Uranus, one near the asteroid belt. No wreckage, no signals. Just silence. The Empire began to scan the system harder, launching probes, deploying tracking drones, but still found nothing. In their mind, Earth was primitive. The humans weren't supposed to have this kind of stealth, this kind of accuracy. Doubt began to whisper through their ranks. In a war room aboard the dreadnought Zar-Tuan, High Command argued. Some believed Earth had help from another empire. Others suggested rogue factions or traitors inside their own network. None of them imagined that humans had simply done the impossible, evolved in the shadows, quietly building weapons that could match the stars. As the tension mounted, Commander Voss prepared her next mission, something riskier. Not just a strike, but a message. The Oblivion Lance would disable one of the Empire's main communication hubs near Ganymede, not destroy it, but leave it barely alive, with just enough power to broadcast one human message system-wide. Her crew had doubts. The risk of detection was higher. The Empire would be watching more closely. But Voss knew what fear could do if planted at the right moment. They launched in silence, slid through black space like ghosts, bypassed patrols, slipped between sensor lines, and reached the Varen relay station. A perfect strike to the power core disabled the structure's shield grid. Instead of finishing it, the Lance uploaded a repeating signal in every known Varen dialect. You watched us for years. You thought we were prey. You were wrong. And then, once the message looped, they vanished again. No trace. The Vayrons scrambled every ship in the area, but found nothing. The fear they had hoped to plant in Earth's people was now growing inside their own. They had awakened something they didn't understand, something born in fire, trained in silence, and ready to fight not just for Earth, but for the freedom of every voice the Empire had tried to silence before. The Black Fleet didn't fight like an army. It fought like a memory that refused to die. And as more ships moved into position, hidden in the folds of gravity wells and the cold of deep space, the Varen Empire began to realize the truth. They had not arrived to conquer a weak world. They had walked into the hunting ground of ghosts. Deep in the frozen shadows beyond Neptune, where the sun is just a dim star and space feels endless, the real game began. The Black Fleet, still unseen by the Empire, had already delivered quiet strikes that whispered through the Varen ranks like rumors in a haunted city. But this next move would be louder, sharper, something the Empire could no longer ignore. In the heart of the lead ship Oblivion Lance, Commander Alina Voss stood over a tactical display, her expression calm but focused as red lines flickered across the hologram, showing enemy routes, blind spots, and timing windows down to the second. Earth's War Council had approved the next phase, no longer just ghosts in the dark, but fire in the void. The mission was bold. Strike a Varen cruiser in the outer orbit of Jupiter, not just to destroy it, but to make the Empire feel hunted, exposed, unsure of every shadow. The cruiser in question, Vel-Zakar, was a long-range sensor and command ship, heavily shielded and escorted by 2 fighter wings, a symbol of the Empire's authority in the system. But symbols could burn, and Voss was ready to light the match. The Black Fleet's most advanced ship, the Ash Reaper, was chosen for the strike, fitted with a prototype weapon called the Sinja Ray, designed in Earth's deep labs, capable of punching through energy fields by distorting gravitational pressure, a weapon Earth had never tested in real combat. The Ash Reaper, dark as coal and nearly invisible to scanners, approached the cruiser in complete silence, crawling through the blackness using micro-thrusts and solar shadows for cover. Time slowed for the crew, every movement calculated, every breath measured, until the distance was perfect and the trigger was pulled. A single beam, narrow as a needle, fired from the Reaper's underbelly, rippling space around it as if reality bent for a moment. It hit the Vel-Zakar just beneath the command deck, bypassing its shields entirely, and for one breathless moment, nothing happened then. Suddenly, the cruiser erupted from within, its core splitting open like glass under pressure. Flames and debris spiraled out into the dark, spinning across the void in eerie silence, and the Empire's fighter wings scattered in confusion, unable to detect where the attack had come from. Within seconds, the Ash Reaper was gone, cloaking again and drifting away like a nightmare fading at dawn. The news reached the Veyron command ship Zartuan with disbelief. No distress signal, no warning, no trace of the attacker. Their sensors picked up only static, as if something had jammed their technology moments before the strike. Panic didn't show on the Empire's faces, they were too proud for that, but their silence said enough. In their long history of conquest, they had faced rebellion, resistance, even small wars, but they had never faced an enemy that moved like this, struck like this, disappeared like this. They didn't know what they were fighting. Back on Earth, inside the fortified defense bunker known as Core Zenith, leaders and military tacticians watched the footage with cold satisfaction. The operation had been a success, and more importantly, it had done what no weapon alone could achieve. It had broken the illusion of Veyron invincibility. But Earth wasn't celebrating. Not yet. They knew the Empire would respond, and the real storm was still coming. The mission had sparked a fire, and fire always brought attention. Earth's orbital network, once considered outdated, now glowed with new life as hidden satellites came online, old defense rings reactivated, and long silent space stations powered up again after years of darkness. Every nation that had once looked inward was now looking outward, united not by treaty, but by survival. Even old rivals now shared technology and tactics, pooling resources into the newly formed Earth Outer Defense Grid, controlled by an AI human command interface that adapted to new threats faster than any human brain could. Commander Voss received her next objective, lead a forward recon operation into the Empire's formation gathering near Mars's orbit. It wasn't just about watching. It was about finding the rhythm of the enemy, how they moved, how they reacted, where they were weak. Voss's team, now experienced in real-time stealth warfare, prepared for the most dangerous part of the mission, entering a blind zone where both Veyron and Earth sensors failed, a place known by the fleet as the Dead Band. What waited in that silent space was unknown, but they went anyway, their ships gliding like phantoms, armed with tracking relays, coded beacons, and last resort charges that would erase their ships entirely if captured. Tension inside the Oblivion Lance was thick as they crossed into the zone, systems dimmed, radios off, breathing shallow. The crew knew they might not return. For 2 hours, they drifted through darkness, more complete than anything they had trained in. Then they saw it. Not just one ship, but a fleet, dozens of Veyron vessels massing together, some with strange shapes, new designs, heavy armor, massive energy cores, unlike anything the Black Fleet had faced so far. The Empire was not retreating. They were preparing for something big. Voss recorded everything, mapping positions, identifying weak points, and as they turned to leave, a Veyron scout suddenly appeared from behind a drifting asteroid, too close, too fast. For a split second, both crews locked eyes across the void. Then the Lance fired silent torpedoes, no explosions, just impact and cold dispersal. The enemy ship cracked in half, and Voss gave the order to run. Every ship in the recon team activated emergency cloaks and vanished, zigzagging back toward Earth-controlled space, chased by a wave of scrambled signals and distorted scans. They made it back, but just barely. The data was clear: the Empire was coming in full force, and they were bringing something they hadn't used before. Earth had sparked a war, but the fire was spreading faster than anyone had guessed. And yet, despite the danger, despite the fear rising in every command center, a sense of power began to grow in the hearts of Earth's defenders. The Black Fleet had done more than strike. It had made the galaxy see that humans weren't silent out of fear. They had been waiting, sharpening blades in the dark. Now, the galaxy was watching. The Empire was watching. And somewhere out there in the deep, the next move was already being planned, not just to survive, but to win. The spark had been lit, and it would not go out. The silence that once filled the edges of the solar system had shattered, replaced by the slow rising thunder of war. The Veyron Empire, furious after the attack on their command cruiser and the vanishing of multiple scout ships, had sent a message not just to Earth, but to every corner of the galaxy. Humanity would be crushed, their rebellion erased, and the Sol system claimed under the Empire's banner. It was no longer a game of stealth and whispers. It was now open war. Massive Varen warships entered the system in formation, shaped like daggers and shadows, their hulls glowing with alien energy. From Neptune's orbit to the rings of Saturn, they began claiming space, building a forward fleet like a black wall, slowly pushing toward Earth. But humanity did not retreat. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, Core Zenith's War Council activated the final stage of Earth's defense, the full reveal of the Black Fleet. No longer hidden in shadows, Earth's greatest warships rose from asteroid fields, planetary bunkers, and cloaked orbital docks, forming an armada unlike anything the Empire expected. Led by the Oblivion Lance, the Ash Reaper, and the newly armed Midnight Aegis, the fleet moved into position across Mars' orbit, where the Empire's invasion line had begun to form. Commander Alina Voss stood once more at the helm, her hands gripping the command rail as the largest human fleet in history prepared for the first full-scale battle in space since the Dark War. Every screen flickered with updates, squadrons launching, long-range missiles loading, automated drone clouds swarming into position, and for a moment there was silence across both fleets. Then, without warning, the Empire struck. A barrage of plasma rounds tore through space, streaking toward the human fleet like comets on fire. Earth's shields flared to life, some buckling, some holding. Varen fighters swarmed like insects, too fast, too agile, and backed by warships with centuries of combat experience. The first human casualties fell as a smaller frigate, the Horizon's Echo, was hit directly in the core and split in two. But the Black Fleet did not waver. From behind the human lines, stealth cruisers decloaked and returned fire, their Sinja rays and pulse cannons ripping through Varen armor in bursts of blue flame. Explosions bloomed like stars, pieces of ships drifting into the void. Earth's forces adapted fast, using tactics the Empire had never seen: formation shifts, AI-guided decoys, and sudden hypermaneuvers that confused enemy targeting systems. On the ground, Earth's people watched the battle unfold through live feeds, the sky above dotted with flashes, streaks of light, and the sharp burn of orbital fire. Children who once feared the stars now watched their defenders become legends. As the battle moved closer to Mars, Earth activated its next weapon, the defense platform Titan's Wake, hidden beneath the surface of the Martian moon Phobos. It emerged with thunder, unfolding massive particle cannons that lit the void with arcs of energy, striking down two Veyron destroyers before they could react. The Empire's command ship, Zar-Tuon, responded by deploying a Doomsday-class war drone, known in their language as the Ravager Seed, a black sphere pulsing with raw energy. The drone tore through asteroid cover and damaged two human carriers in a single attack, forcing Voss to call in the Ash Reaper, which dove through enemy fire and used the Sinja ray at maximum power. The result was catastrophic. The Ravager Seed imploded, ripping a hole in space itself, sucking in debris and fire before collapsing into silence. The shockwave rocked both fleets, but Earth held its line. Varen command faltered for the first time in the battle. Their ships began to spread out, retreating to reorganize, but Voss didn't let them breathe. She gave the order push forward. In unison, the Black Fleet advanced, launching a full barrage that swept through enemy ranks like a storm. Human pilots, once rookies in hidden simulators, now flew like veterans, executing impossible turns, dodging plasma fire, and bringing down ships twice their size. Meanwhile, Earth's AI systems began to outmatch even the Empire's tactical matrices, predicting movements seconds ahead, allowing human gunners to strike with perfect accuracy.